There ain't nothing wrong with me that you can't fix. There ain't nothing wrong with me.
Hi, everybody. It's Made in Nacogdoches. My name is Brad Maule, and today we have a very special guest, George Hooker. Hello, George.
Hello, Brad.
I always say your name like it's Newman kind of thing.
You do.
Hello, George.
Hello, Jerry.
So, can you tell the people a little bit about yourself, or do you want me to tell them what I know about you?
Well, that could be fun.
Okay.
Let's hear your version.
Okay. Well, you're from Woods, Texas, but I always think of you as being from Carthage. So I guess Woods is close to Carthage, I suppose.
It is.
But I met George when I came here for the film department, the film program here. And he is a graduate of him. I never taught him. He was before I came here, but we became sort of instant friends because he's a fast-moving, cool dude. And occasionally he would call me to do a commercial. And somehow or another, those commercials were the kind where years later, after I had done them, people would come up to me and go, I remember you from Staying Alive, you know, that kind of thing. Or anyway, so that's the way I know George. I also know him because he's, no matter if I saw him yesterday, if I see him today, he's got another adventure that he's on. And I don't know if that's a trait that's always happened or if it's just because of I'm just lucky enough to see him when adventures change. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, George Hooker. How'd you think? What?
Fantastic. I loved it.
Okay.
Better than I could have done myself.
So tell it yourself.
Well, by the
you?
way, before we get down that path, it is a trait. And it's been an amazing life. I don't know if it's an inherited trait. My mother's side were very upbeat, pragmatic, positive people, and my father's side were a bit more realistic. They were more storms coming. My mother actually called my dad Storm Cloud. Whenever she was up to something, she'd go, here comes Storm Cloud. Because my dad was the guy that as we're driving towards whatever store we needed to stop at, he would say before we got there, they're probably not going to have it. So as I got older,
a little bit negative.
My smart aleck response was, let's just not go. And I drive right past. That'd make him furious. I go, because my mother did the same, which was, well, I'll tell you what, let's just skip it. So my mother's always glass overfilled and overflowing. And dad was always, it's knocked on the floor and shattered, or it's going to be. So I'm a bit of a balance actually between those two things. Okay. And I don't think there's I don't knock my dad's philosophy any more than I, over romanticize my mother's, because I think there's certain things. I have a friend of mine who says, I'd rather come in with the worst absolute expectations and be pleasantly surprised. And that's one way to look at life. But I've always been more of I lean a bit towards my mother's side, I think, and I'm more, I'm protons and neutrons over electrons. Honestly, I've got the positive gene. So you asked, to circle back, I am from Woods Community. It was called Woods Post Office when I was a child.
Where is that?
It's about 15 minutes south, coming this direction, actually. Highway 59, the main artery to Houston. Mm-hmm. When you come out of Carthage heading in this direction, you'll go out about 11 miles, and Woods Community, as it's now called, it's not incorporated or anything, but it does have a fancy green state-issued sign. And we also have a very busy volunteer fire department because of an unfortunate reason. We're out there where Highway 59 it runs through my land. And it also is in an area where you've just got these 18-wheel haulers just hurtling, and there's a lot of these small roads that come up and feed onto it. And it's a tough call when they get a call. It's usually an accident. That's no fun. Exactly. I'm sorry, I digressed. The idea is that our volunteer fire department responds quicker than most any others in that part of the area, because we're rural, but there's a lot of people that live out there actually. In that, like most small towns, you've got in the city limits, there's 6,500 people, give or take, in Carthage, and as soon as you step outside of that, I bet you've got 10,000 more if you just start going wide before you get to another town.
So you went to SFA because this is called Made in Nacogdoches. So some of you was made in Nacogdoches.
Oh,
is that true?
absolutely.
And you were definitely made in East Texas. You're a
Yeah. Oh, I fell in love with Nacogdoches. It was cemented during my time here at SFA. But growing up, I mean, it's 40 minutes if you're hustling to get here from where I grew up, and it was a sleepy town. And then it was, as you see it now, it's with what SFA has become over all these years. I mean, it's bustling.
What was SFA like when you got here?
So I came out of high school and realized that I didn't want to continue on with a day-to-day sort of, I did my 13 years, if you count kindergarten, and I was like, I want to go do something with my life that makes money. And so I went out and opened up my first little business. And
Were you a poor kid? No.
No, we're middle class.
Okay.
We weren't by any means wealthy, but I didn't want for anything, and I grew up out there in the country, but had a bit of a country mouse, city mouse type hybrid for me. But I remember that that was the time so I graduated in 90 from Carthage High, and I ended up back at 97 was when I enrolled at SFA. Now I'm going to back up and completely just contradict my own story, but I went out of high school and did my, if you go to Carthage School, Panola College is almost a prerequisite. I mean, it's almost mandatory to do it because somebody's going to get you some form of scholarship into that school. Not take away from people who've earned it. Not talking about sports scholarships or all that. I can't recall what mine was for, but I got, I want to say it was no less than a year that was paid for at, and I thought, well, why not? So it'll be a nice little transition to get out of from under my parents at home, and got a little apartment in Carthage and went to Panola College and goofed my way into, I'm sure I'd have just booted out of there with about a 2.8 if I'd stayed, but I actually went through a year and I don't know where this wisdom came from, but I just realized that I was not going to trash my GPA for this possibility of eventually going to a 4-year university. So I got out of there before I ruined it. And I opened my own little business in Longview, which is the first, to me, up the road town you could get to that had indoor air conditioned jobs for men, because most of the men in my town go straight into the oil field. And being artsy, I wasn't real keen on that, even when my dad was oil and gas. He worked for Gulf Oil for his entire career. Oh, wow. And so I used to go ride those roads with him as he checked wells, but I didn't fall in love with it. Again, I get from my mother's side, she was very artistic. Funny, my dad was actually a cartoonist, just hobbyist, but he was good at it. I mean, he could have done like a little strip if he wanted to, did a little Sunday, get some fame out of that. I thought he was good, but it just wasn't his thing. But my mother
so
was.
So where'd you fit in high school, kind of thing?
So actually, I alluded to that a little earlier in the story. Was that and I wanted to go there. So thanks for bringing it up. Is that Carthage, in this little East Texas part of the world, we were late 80s, early 90s kids. So we had MTV, it was Michael Jordan at the top of his game. It was music videos and Prince and Madonna and Springsteen and Phil Collins. And it was the birth of gangster rap. I mean, it was crazy to be in high school during the time that everything that's now being remade, redone, and brought back for nostalgia was booming. So we had everything. I mean, my car rolling down the street, I would have Def Leppard followed by Eazy-E, followed by Springsteen, by Garth Brooks. So we just had, and that was, again, I just named artists that they were that was when they were at their peak of their careers or the beginnings. I mean, I got to see Michael Jackson, Prince, all that. So we were in a little country bumpkin town, just dressed like we were in LA, Chicago, New York.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like, so I was a preppy kid, but again, we didn't see color. We didn't see bias. We didn't see gender. We didn't see poverty. We saw just cool factor as far as I had Wrangler wearing buddies. I had Levi's wearing buddies. I had parachute pants wearing buddies. And we just, man, it was a great time to not have what we deal with now as you open your phone and see everyone's told to hate somebody. And we didn't. And it was just cool. It was amazing. I talk about this a lot with my friends that are of all different ethnicities, because we were predominantly a white school with probably Black and then Hispanic. I think we saw one Asian kid come through from an exchange student program, but for the most part, it was Black and white, desegregated, and we never saw it. There was never, ever a Friday or Saturday night fight in a parking lot over color. We fought over like who was stealing whose girlfriend, but it had nothing to do with the things that we're now told again that we're supposed to be savage.
You're telling me there was no racism in East Texas at that time?
I would never speak for anybody other than the white folk, because it's me. But I can tell you this, because I had these conversations with friends of mine from other ethnicities, and they say the same. They're like, man, we didn't think of it either. The segregation lines were still there for housing. You had what was called the other side of the tracks, and that's actually legitimately true. Still to this day in Carthage, Texas, more homes are owned by Black families on that, going north, I guess it'd be east and west side. So on that side of the tracks, that was Shreveport direction. So we call that north, that's eastward. So that was predominantly the Black community. But again, in my time, and I want to say I was born in 72. So by the time I was aware of any such thing as prejudice, 76, 77, 78, we didn't see it. Truly. And no one told us. No one stopped and goes, hey, we don't like these kids and they don't like us. It just never came up. And we rolled the streets. And again, I think so much of that had to do with, as I said, I was bumping Pearl Jam right along next to NWA in my car, and nobody yanked me off the side of the road to fight about it. There was no such thing as, I find this word to be just such an odd, weird, it's two words, it's cultural appropriation. Don't want to get off in the weeds on this, but I think that that's something that we just didn't, nobody got their feelings hurt for us wanting to break dance, but we were white. Nobody got their feelings hurt that some of my friends that were Black wanted to country dance. Good on them. We were great with it, truly. Now, again, I can't ever speak for what other people's day-to-day life was like, if they got side-eyed or felt less than from a minority standpoint. I can't speak to it, but I can tell you what they've told me, and I can speak to my experience, which was, again, never came up.
How'd you get into film?
So, you remember when VCRs, I don't know if you can see this table on camera, but VCRs had that nice wood grain to them, and they were about this big.
Almost like those station wagons.
Yes,
a Woody.
They look like a Woody.
Yeah.
And they had, they literally had chrome, eject, rewind, fast forward, pause, and all this to them. But the first one that we got had input jacks. So I figured out how to link two of them together.
RCA plugs.
Yeah, man. And I was able to make my own audio dubs. That's where it started. It started with audio dubs over anything else. I was doing these audio dubs, of, I don't know why this pops in my mind, but I think it was a rodeo. I think it was bull riding, and I was doing my own commentating of this thing. And then that led to my parents getting me my first VHS camera, which was on the shoulder, had the tape in it. It was huge. It had a cool handle on it and all that for zoom and everything. And I can't imagine you could do this within the last decade or more, but I carried that thing to school. And no teachers, I have videos still of they were bootleg. There were times where I snuck them and hit record in class. Yeah. While we were messing with each other and, paper airplanes and giving our teachers, giving our teachers the blues and all that. But man, I look back at some of that stuff. But we made music videos out in the
you ought to make a compilation tape of that kind of stuff.
I actually have. I've got those. I've got some of the best that we did. And back then, again, we're talking like we were doing Bobby Brown, because there was so much of that with the dance moves of those guys like New Edition and I mean, I could just start
Have you
a
ever
list.
said the words, can't touch this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dun.
Come on, man.
Okay, sorry.
Too legit to quit. I think I hit the mic doing it. Too legit to quit.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how it started. And that, every question you ask me has this long path to get back. But the answer is that's where it began. And then I got into doing stop motion with my Transformers and my G.I. Joes and fake blood. And I had these battle scenes and all this stuff going on. And I would spend hours and hours and hours in my room doing stop motion animation, one step at a time, and then show this thing. And my G.I. Joes were running across and fighting Transformers. And so I was doing all those things. So
Tell people how you edit on. Did you have to have 2 VCRs?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So
I think people don't know that because editing's pretty easy right these days. With the little.
So yeah, and it got really interesting before linear, which is that you could edit something in order by just dropping things in from your bin, and that got really. It opened up a lot. But that happened while I was at SFA. So I was analog digital. I was at SFA. So in 97, we were doing reel to reel. We were doing film. R. Scott had us in their tabletops. So we were splicing.
Tell them who R. Scott is.
So, can't call him professor, can't call him doctor. Just call him R. Scott, because that's who he's always been. R. Scott still holds the record. I think it's the longest tenured professor.
52 years.
Yeah, at SFA. And he was the head of the film program, and was, and still to this day is, an absolute rebel. And the things that he taught us, they don't teach in film school, I think, anymore. And if they did then, I mean, I got given the keys to the film room, we called it, where you could rent equipment. So in my senior year, I actually was over, a little bit of my junior. In my senior year, I was over the rentals, so the students had to come to me to rent their equipment.
This is at SFA, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got to put my hands on the crane that he built, welded himself, that OSHA wouldn't have let us put on a Hollywood set within 50 miles. But we used that thing all the time. I don't know what kind of insurance the program carried.
It didn't.
I can't imagine it could have.
Do you know that they used it on the back of my pickup one time, and the kid, in case you guys don't understand this, it's like a fulcrum kind of thing. And homemade, hand-built, with a chair up here so that you could have a student sit in the chair with the camera, and it went up and down. Well, this student had the freshman 15 going, so he was a little larger than normal and a little less weight in the back. And so the minute he got up there, the thing went crashing down and broke my windshield on the truck. No. And I went to R. Scott, and I was like, hey, they broke my windshield. And
he goes, claim.
Yeah, that's going to cost you a lot of money there, Brad. And that was it.
It's a pretty good R. Scott impression.
Sink or swim.
That's how it was. I remember one time when we were working on one of the other students' senior films. It's called Dead Flesh. And I was going to shoot some second unit stuff on this thing. So R. Scott goes, we're going to grab him, jump in the car. So we go and get in his Camaro. And I think he was probably 80 then. I know he's 125 now.
He's 92.
It's unreal.
And he has more energy than you do.
I don't doubt this. And I get in the car not realizing that this was the scene on Zombie Island. Well, the only island we got anywhere near here is that little rinky-dink thing in the middle of Lake Nack. And I'm like, are we going to row a boat out there? We didn't make it to the lake because we turned at the airport. And I thought, oh, God.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. So he backs the Cessna out. And this was never discussed. I get in this plane.
His plane?
Yes. And he takes off with me in the gear. That's not the best part. It was beautiful. I was like, man, this is crazy, because I'm young enough and stupid enough to think I'll live forever. And we get up and bank over towards the island. He goes, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to stall it. I didn't hear anything after that, but I want to assume that he then said, but make sure you're filming. I am hanging out the window because he shows me how that can happen. and filming us pull a stall so we can,
Like you're crashing.
well, we got to go slow enough or the footage will be useless.
Right.
To film the actors that are down there, that have already been down there and cued somehow, I guess through his radio mic, to start shambling around on the zombie island. And we got it. Wow. We got the shot. So that
you
was
have
one
to
of my,
understand, we love our Scott.
we love him. We love him. I'm glad I did it.
And when we do impressions of him, it's with a loving heart.
It's with an absolute loving heart because we don't do the impressions that he actually did.
Yeah. Well, I think it's my turn in terms
Please.
of that, because when I was new here, he was like, yeah, I think you ought to go up in a plane with me and fly. And so I did. I wanted to. I did. But it was like, I don't know if this is flying or not, but it was so busy, like adjusting the fuel, you know.
He did that a lot.
The motor a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And anyway, and I was like, are we out of gas or what's going on here? Because there was,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we flew into a bank of clouds, and he goes, take the wheel. And I was like, well, I can't see. It's just all clouds. It's like heaven.
Yeah.
Kind of like where you're about to send me, I
right,
hope.
Right. You wouldn't just transition like, yeah.
And he left the seat. I was on the right-hand side. He left that seat to crawl back into the back, supposedly to look for his sunglasses. And I was like, I didn't know if I was up or down or sideways or anything. It was terrifying. And then I went into one of those flop sweat kind of things.
He let
But
me
I did live.
he let me take the yoke for a minute. I think
it's a standard thing.
Probably.
It's a test of your manhood or something. You know?
But all I remember is what he was feathering with looked like the little pullout on those, on like the Bonnie and Clyde mobile.
Like an old Studebaker when you need the defroster on.
Exactly. Yeah. You couldn't get me in that plane today with a gun in my head.
Well, and also, people think, maybe people know better than this, but I thought planes were made out of metal, but this appeared to be made out of like tinfoil.
Balsa wood.
Balsa wood.
Yeah, yeah. No, tinfoil is a great.
I was like, oh, look at that.
It's probably a great alternative for that thing. Well, you don't want it heavy.
And he said, said to me, he goes, we were coming in for a landing. He goes, how fast do you think we need to be going? And I was like, when I'm parking, I like to go down to about 20 or 30 miles an hour. And he goes, no, 150.
Yeah, he says we're going about,
Yeah. And so we were like, anyway, I got out there and crawled to my car and never, you know, he and I think he said this in his gentle way. He's like, you're not cut out for this, are you? And I wasn't.
Maybe that was sort of your.
I think it was similar to tribes in Africa that take their child out.
There's a word for it. You're not bloodening, but a thing they do. You were blooded. I guess
well,
you blooded.
Come back and
trial by fire.
You go in as a child and you come back a man.
Yes. Yeah.
Kinda...
He didn't suffer chickens, man. I mean, he put us through it, and that's to me now. Spin that around to a. It's all been positive. The man's amazing. I am and have been able to do what I've done in my career solely based on germinating seed. There were a lot of things and influences along the way. You're one of them. But if it weren't for our Scott and that in the crazy way of just teaching by you can't say example, by sample. Day one, he gave us cameras and said, go. Mm-hmm. I added and suck at it. Go be bad at it. Be terrible. And come back and and the criticism, the withering
criticism.
And man, I'll tell you this, if you could handle it and you could get through that program, I've heard this and I don't know if it's written somewhere, but I've used it, that graduates of the Stephen F. Austin film program will get prime positioning for gigs over other students from other programs based solely on how tactical our education was, as far as they know we will show up on time, which is early. We will stay late, which is all night. Mm-hmm. We won't complain. We will do the job, and we know how to do the job. And every one of us, to a man or woman, know how to shoot it, light it, record the sound for it, gaff it, grip it, and in most cases, design it, write it, the whole shebang. We were like those Dr. Seuss they got the whizzles, wazzles, and wazoozits. They were like he's doing this, and bumping and drumping with a one-man band. Yeah. That's what every single one of the students. So if anybody fell out, you could step right next. Now maybe this was his plan, was that you could be on a film set, and if anybody fell out, it'd be like in the military. You just like Napoleon marching. When he moves over, close the gap, because you could pick his up and go because you knew how to do it. And that's true. And that kind of led to the career I've had, which was a bit out of the ordinary, I guess, with the idea of, so I'm told, I mean, I think you've even said this to me when I've come to the department to kind of speak about it, was that I came out of that program and hung a shingle out, and people said, what can you do? And I said, everything. And I did, so I had such a eclectic and great and grand journey through. People ask me, well, what do you do? I'm like, I didn't describe that. Commercials, films, industrials, things that never saw the light of day, things that saw big light. I mean, all kinds of just, it's taken me around the world.
Well, you were a little bit of a one-man band when I first kind of met you, because you not only went out and this talking about Nacogdoches, you went out to the businesses that never had a commercial and said, here, let me shoot you something. You had the camera. You shot it, you edited it, you wrote it, you even told me how to act occasionally, I mean, but
I thought that's what a director was supposed to do.
No, don't ever give me a line reading. I'm sorry. But it worked, whatever. But I mean, and you would do this all in an hour or something. I'm exaggerating.
No, I'm still, I think, one of the fastest at delivering quality at really high speed. And it's a bit frustrating to me. I never did work fully in the studio system because that sloth-like pace is maddening to me. I would rather do 1,000 small productions than to do one Gunga Din. And I've done them. I've been on them. And I was like, if I had hair left, I'd pull it out because of the amount of time and the setups. And that's not that it's like, well, this is how it's done because of what we have to do. I'm like, still do it faster. But there seems to be almost a mandated speed that you're going to need to go at to serve everything from the union to the I don't know. But making my day, it's never been a problem. I make my days.
Well, it's sort of like when they talk about, talk shows or whatever, sometimes have a crew. They start with a crew of 2 or a podcast or whatever. Yeah. And then if they're successful, they end up with a crew of 400. Sure. And you're like, what do you all do?
It's maddening to me, and that's again.
I moved the chair.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's why I really enjoyed working in Texas more often than not, because of our ability here to not have to. And I don't politicize this. I don't speak to one side of the unions or other. I just know that for me, if I need to move that cable, I can move it. Pragmatically speaking, I think that's nice. And again, I know how to. Right? Kill myself hooking stuff up. Because again, I was blooded. I went through the Scotian Nebula. So it was, man, it was a cool time that high school was and college was and my career's been. I mean,
did you do anything else in college? Did you have any fun?
Oh, are you kidding? That was fun. All that was just wild. There were people I remember in 101, and I'm sure you've experienced this, 400 kids trying to get in there because wouldn't it be cool? Fast forward to graduating your senior year and you got 3 graduating because they realize this is work, but it was still fun. I mean, because you're doing this, man, I would never, ever, ever compare this to combat or to veterans, but I'll tell you, there's a parallel there, however small it may be, to the idea of you got these brothers and sisters alongside you and you're like, you can't run out on them. It's 4 a.m. and we ain't getting the shot because it's raining. Well, who's going to go home first? None of us are.
And you still know some of the people that you work with in college?
With them,
in the
yeah.
film program.
Matter of fact, I graduated in 2001, and graduate high school was 90. There's a bit of a story in there that
I want to get to that.
Well, no, I don't.
I'm happy to. Were you abducted or something for 7 years?
No, I went into business. It's like I just felt like I could figure it out. And here's what's funny: my first business was a tanning salon, but here's why.
What'd you call it?
Unique Tan Company.
Oh, okay.
It was in Longview. Here's why. I went to Longview and was waiting tables. And that was the era of there must be no such thing as skin cancer because everybody was going to tanning salon. They had invented these tanning beds and everybody was as brown as a table. And I had friends that tanned, and because I was a fitness guy and went to the gym, well, it made your muscles look, if you were darker, and you get a tan, it's contrast.
And the
Film
oil,
turn.
lots of oil.
Yeah,
there.
high contrast.
Your father was in the oil business,
There you
and
go.
so were you.
So I'm going to tan, and I'm like, this is an easy business. I'm tired of waiting tables. And here's where it really sounded fun. I could like design it and do the logo, and I could do the storefront, and then design the rooms, make it all cool and unique and all that. And it looked to me from the people that I was paying attention to at the tanning salon that I went to, that this was going to be a pretty easy business. Just get a loan and get it going. And I did. I was real proud of it.
How many beds did you have?
I had 6, and they stayed packed. I mean, it was booked out. I was just gangbusters, man. And I knew, and here's the other side effect to that. I ended up meeting, knowing, and hanging out with almost everybody in Longview that was of note, because most of those who tanned at the time that's a luxury.
Yeah.
So they were either wealthy or well-to-do or going on vacations more often than not. And so I got to, and to this day still know quite a few people that own businesses, because I was in the chamber. So I learned all this stuff. I did this at 19. So 19, to do the math, 23, I had this tanning salon. Then I got antsy. And I was like,
Well, everybody was tan by then anyway.
Right? Yeah. So I can't just do this forever. I could have, and I could have franchised them, and I could have done a lot of things where it would become Planet Tan or Palm Beach Tan, but I didn't. So at 23, I sold it. I was very proud of this. I sold it for, I want to say it was probably over twice what it cost me. And my month-to-month operating expenses, I never went in the hole with this thing. So when I sold it, I'd paid that month's operating costs, and then I sold the thing, name and all, customer base, sold the whole thing, walked away from it, and went straight to the Art Institute of Dallas. Because I was always from Longview, going to Dallas on the weekends and fast catting, and I just thought it was cool to go up there. And again, we're in the 90s, so you got all the nightclubs are hopping. There's no such thing as social media to keep you glued to your device and sitting in your dark, living room, doom scrolling. You were living life. So I was like, I'm doing this. So I went to the Art Institute. And it was also the time of the birth of CGI. So I went there with the idea towards a special effects degree, a computer animation degree. Then I realized
that was early for special effects.
So I'll tell you what, when I was there, that was when they were coming out with the special editions of the original Star Wars trilogy. They put them back in theaters, and they had the new special effects, and Lucasfilm was driving that. Pixar had just started. So all this was happening, and those shops were opening up. So I was like, oh, this is the thing. However, and I was a pretty good illustrator, but cell animation, You want to talk about soul numbing for me?
Oh, you mean just doing those?
Yeah, and then they threw math in it, and I was like, So I kind of fell out of love fairly quickly. Loved the program, did the 2-year program, and came out, and I'm sorry, let me back up. Before coming out, I've always been into fitness. And so I was down at the gym, and I met these guys. This is in Dallas, while I'm at the Art Institute, struggling away at a computer animation degree where I was going to learn how to basically program code, and wasn't doing it. And these guys, while I'm still in school, and again, I'm a middle class guy, and I'm in Dallas, barely making it, living in a little apartment with a couple other guys that were going to school with me. And I meet these dudes at the gym, at World Gym, because I had a job. I was a trainer. And they would come in and lunch from like noon to 2. And they looked exactly like Wolf of Wall Street. They came in with their suits and laughing, and well-built, good-looking dudes. And I think that they went from lunch straight to the I don't know if we can mention the clubs that they have that you can go to, where ladies are in various degree of
never heard of this.
Dress.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Me either. Rumors. So that was the kind of life I thought these guys were living. And I was like, man, this is wild. This looks like something right out of the movies. It really did. And they're talking to me like, man, you got the gift of gab, George. You ought to come work with us. I'm like, well, I'm a trainer here and I'm going to school. I'm like, yeah, just come down one day. Just come with us after we get out of here. and come over to the office and meet the boss. I go over and meet the boss, and I'm not kidding you. The day I meet him is the day that I go up to the office, high-rise building. They were called the Fina Towers. They're the 2 gold buildings. Everybody knows them because they were in the opening credits of Dallas, the TV show. Those buildings are still there, and they're still gold. Right there, Greenville Avenue, you got 75, and right there between there, Park Lane, there it is. That's right down from the Art Institute at Park in Greenville. So I go up in there and ride the elevator up, and I meet these guys. And again, it's exactly what you'd expect. It is the Wolf of Wall. The only thing they weren't doing the midget tossing, but they were in there, just everybody's on headphones. And here's what they were selling. That was the birth of the internet boom that ended up bursting, but it was beginning, and people needed websites.
They were blowing up the bubble.
And nobody knew how to make a website. So these guys are selling websites. I was at the Art Institute on some kind of recompense of somehow, and I was able to make ends meet at World Gym in this little rinky-dink apartment over right off Greenville Avenue. These dudes, I'm in there, and they all are wanting to like impress me and show me what they do and all that. So they're doing their thing, and I go in to meet the boss, but he's not in. He's down in the parking lot doing donuts in his new Dodge Viper that he just paid cash for. And we watch this guy do donuts until he literally swings it into a light pole in the parking lot. They start laughing. It's Wolf of Wall Street. And so he comes up, perturbed not in the least. And these guys, by the time I'm out the door, have given me a job. So let me just cut to the chase. I went from making to making $5,000 cash a week. So I ended up in a 2-story house with a convertible Mustang and a red Trans Am. and now I'm
why I put him on the show.
And so now it was called American National Marketing Company. Yes. And I still see some of these guys from time to time because Facebook keeps everybody connected, and Instagram and all those things. So we chat from time to time. We reminisce about these crazy old days. But yeah, I'm 23, 24 years old. And for a time, I took a break from the vision of like, I'm gonna be an artist.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be the Wolf of Wall Street.
You were a capitalist.
I was a capitalist at this point. So I'm doing fantastic. This goes on for...
What'd you do with all that money?
So I saved.
Oh, okay.
So, because I am, still to this day, a teetotaler as far as I don't drink, I don't drug, I've never had an addictive personality. Thank the Lord, my parents, my DNA, whatever. Drinking, I just don't like the taste of it. I just like that good sweet tea, I just don't need it.
Made in Nacogdoches.
Right. I'll have a drink. I'm not, it's not a stance. Drug thing, never been high. I'm sure I've had a contact high, but I can tell you that it just didn't drive me. Now these dudes, this was the answer. They're snorting it up their noses. So I don't know how many of those came out when it all crashed with any money. But for me, I was saving as well as, spending for stuff I liked, which was to have a whole library full of, at that time, it was just DVDs and still kind of some VHSs of all my favorite movies and all that stuff. So that's me, right? Got my big screen TV in the house and all this kind of stuff. And I got my 2 cars and I'm having a good time chasing the girls, whatever. But I didn't have these addictive costs. So when it happened, we went from making $4,000 to $6,000 a week to making $400 a month.
Oh, when the bubble burst.
When it burst, I sold both cars, had to get out of the house, call my parents, and I go, Mama, can I come home? And she was like, listen to me. If you do, you're going to do the one thing I told you to do in life. What I tell you to do? And I went, get a college degree. She said, nobody in this family has ever had one. You're going to get one. I said, yes, Mama. And I said, I try to be all bold, not with my mama, but as best I could, I go, it's probably not going to be anything safe. She goes, I don't care if it's in basket weaving. You're going to get a degree. So we looked at UT, we looked at A&M, we looked at the schools that I loved as a kid and wore the hats and jerseys and all that. We looked at a couple of others. And because I was back at home, SFA kind of made sense. And I had a lot of friends that went. And you had kids coming from Houston, Dallas, Austin, all that. So it was, and again, circling back to earlier, we talked about what was SFA like at the time. That was when you had bullwinkles and you had bullfrogs was just getting its place, and you had La Hacienda, and the upstairs up there. So it was just you notice I've named nothing but bars. I don't drink, but everybody had to go, and every fraternity and sorority was inside the city limits, and they were doing good things. They were still acting a fool, but they were more good than bad. And so I came over and I looked at it and I did, and I don't know, I'm pretty decisive in my decision making in life, so I didn't really go shop a bunch of schools. And I had done myself no harm at Panola. I got some good letters and things like that, and I was able to come in. Now, as a freshman, because I had this junior college, these hours, and I came in and was going to do a psychology degree.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, and I still...
Were you trying to fix yourself or other people?
Other people.
Okay.
I'm fine. So I get going. But while going to and fro, I see the first love of my life, cameras out in the quad area and out by Steve down there by the library.
Surfing Steve.
Yeah, man. And they're out playing with the things I played with in school. And I was like, the fire caught again. And I was like, where you guys at? And they're like, we're down there in that blank, bland building you can't find, but look for the sculpture sitting in front of it.
The art building?
Yeah. So I go down to this, mausoleum and I walk in and I start having conversations, and I somehow stumbled across Art Scott. I don't think I need to tell you anymore. I mean, and the rest is history. Truly, we got in and I went back over to Rusk building and was like, change it all, but I made psychology my minor, and I started film, never looked back.
Wow.
Best decision I ever made.
Now, when you went back from making $5,000 a month to being
400 a week.
Well, having to live in your parents' house, did you go back to your old bedroom?
Yes.
Did you feel a little bit humbled at that moment?
I never got over my skis, Brad. I'll be honest. I never thought, and I think again, I attribute this to my parents and the fantastic upbringing, which was my father would say, "Son, you are no ways better than you are, but you're not better than anyone either." Mm. And my own saying, and I don't know where I really heard it originally, was everybody puts their pants on the same way I do, one leg at a time. A couple might be doing backflips, landing in them, but most people, one leg at a time.
Well, I was going to ask you, what were your parents like?
Oh, they were amazing. They are the Norman Rockwell pastiche paintings. Grew up in that county.
Kind of country people?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. So my mother was the baby of 7. My dad was the baby of 3. And they grew up in different communities. Mama was Old Center. Old Center community is 5 miles down a little winding country road from Woods community. My dad was Woods community.
So Center right now is not the center you're talking about.
No, it's called Old Center. And Old Center, you come out of Center and you enter up through Tennahaw and you can cut over towards Joaquin area. And as you're heading that way, you can get on 699 and you'll head into Old Center community, which is made up of nothing but a church and a cemetery.
Okay.
All of my mother's side is buried in the cemetery. And it was a story that I always thought was great and would make a neat little Hallmark film, or if we could put some twists in it, make it something else. But my mother told me that she fell in love with my dad 5 years apart. He was the paper boy, throwing paper, and he pedaled down there. That's a long way down. That's 5 miles down that. I ride that, and that's a tough one. And he was chunking papers. And
didn't have any speeds on that bike either.
No, I'm sure. Yeah. And she remembered, because he went to Tennahaw. Mama went to Carthage. And so they didn't cross in school. They wouldn't have anyway, 5 year apart. So he's early teens. She's, adolescent. And she just remembered like that boy. They don't see each other again. She gets into high school and she's at the Sonic in Carthage. And this dude comes cruising through, had his cigarettes rolled up in his sleeve, his hair pomade slicked, and he had, I won't quote the year, but he had it was either Chrysler, Chevy, whatever it was. It just had the sweet wings coming out. It had the fins on the back.
It's Chrysler.
Had the fins on. Dad was always about the cars. And he comes cruising through, and she recognizes him. And they hit it up. And that was that. And my mama and daddy, 50 years before mama died, and never, ever held another person's hand.
Wow.
And and I'll tell you, everybody fights. But my parents, there was no other life that you didn't see when you were visiting. There was no drunken dad throwing bottles. There was no mama stepping out or vice versa. And I think a lot of that goes back to that profound Southern Baptist Christian, for better or worse, they put it in you, and you toe the line.
Were you an only child?
Yes. Had a sister who passed before I was born. She was 2 years old. And at my father's...
heartbreaking.
Man, so I thought about this today in the shower getting ready to come see you. I thought about this. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about death since I was a child. And it's because I learned about a sister who died. And I thought, well, if that can happen, I could go at any minute. Well, we can all go at any minute. But as a child, you typically don't have that kind of, you don't come to terms with your mortality, I don't think, until you're maybe teen years, I think early. You see it in the movies, but that's just fun and games. Cowboys and Indians shooting each other, John Wayne, whatever, killing the bad guy. But death is not, it's just not a concept.
My brother died at 17, and so I was like, oh, I hope I make it to 17, because that's, as a kid, that's what you.
So when you're told to, and that story was so, again, I told this at my father's funeral. I said, it made me, every day I say, today might be the day. What am I going to do with this to make it worthwhile? Because I remember them telling me the child version of that story, the adolescent version of that story, and the adult version of that story. They shared more with me as I got older. They told me the early version when I was a child and could handle it. Well, she just was sick. When I was a teenager, your sister died, and it was measles, and then she got some kind of pneumonia or something, but the doctor didn't really think it was that big a deal and just sent us home. And I've spent many, many years trying to find a way to forgive that doctor for me waking up. The adult version is my mother finding her sweet 2-year-old baby girl, blue and gone, in the crib in 6 months of absolute darkness, wondering if the pills they were getting addicted to would kill them, so they wouldn't have to feel this way anymore.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What did the death of your sister do to your parents?
6 months, she said, she lived in utter pitch black. And then, because my mother is who she is and was all through her life, she said, all right, today's the day. Let's either end it or let's move on. And the way I'm talking to you right now is how my mama talked. Yeah. She would nod that head and she goes, we're either going to get on or we're going to get off. And she said it to herself. And that's the day that she looked at my daddy and said, and so are you. And they did. And they went back to church. They cut out the alcohol, the pills, everything. Cold turkey. And dedicated their lives to her memory and to not wasting this.
Well, there's your movie you've been missing.
Oh, man, right?
You said a Hallmark movie a while ago. This is not a Hallmark movie. This is an Oscar-winning movie because it's also freeing for you. It's a closure thing, too.
So that was the story I shared at my dad's funeral about. The adult version also was on the way out of the church. They couldn't get my daddy to let go of the casket as they dragged him and her out of the church. But to that point, the upshot was that it brought my parents, I would imagine, as close to God as you could possibly get. I think losing a child has to be, and at 2 years old, I've known through my years many, many families, because out where we live, I mean, the brakes are off. You got kids running around, flipping trucks, flying out windshields. I lost class.
Four-wheelers or
Three-wheelers. We had three-wheelers.
yeah.
So I've lost classmates. I lost my college roommate, Zane Boudreau, who everybody loved in this town. And I was here at SFA, and brain tumor he didn't even know he had. Went to work out with me on a Wednesday. He was gone on a Thursday. So I've had this over and over in my life that's made me really, and in my home, there are things that are on the wall, tapestries and quotes that are framed that speak very directly about what are you doing today? Make it worthwhile. And because of that, my parents taught me early on. And man, Brad, I feel like I'm out of time. These days with these phones, the constant complaining and negativity, and now just today we're all mad about the Super Bowl. Who cares? Because there's so much more. No one on their deathbed at the door, talking to God, looking at the Grim Reaper, going to be like, I didn't like the Bad Bunny show. I didn't like the Kid Rock show. Who cares? Yeah. So to me, I'm a bit out of time where I remember, as idyllic and romanticized as it may be as when we're younger, for all of us, every generation has this nostalgia. I do believe that it was just a different time. And growing up in the country, growing up with simple values where people were like, look, we could all go at any time. So we need you down there Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday to make sure that when you do go, you're on the right side of things. Mm-hmm. And that's how I was raised. But at the same time, it was also, again, parents who were level-headed and nicely in the center of, without radicalizing me either way in life, of anything. And I like that. I like that when I recommend a TV show to people, a lot of people like it. When I recommend a song, a lot of people like it. When I recommend a restaurant, a lot of people like it. I like living in that space. Do
you think that, because you were obviously raised during that dark period of their life, is that correct? Or were you born yet?
No, I wasn't. So
you came later. You were a happy little baby.
4.5 years after. So, and that's also part of the story I told.
Did they hug you a little tight because of fear of losing you?
Here's the interesting part. They didn't. They gave me the love, but they didn't do I had dirt bikes and three-wheelers, and I learned how to drive on my own with a stick out in the pasture. I've rolled cars, I've swung them, I've done all kinds of craziness, but my parents were never, remember a friend of mine who ended up in prison, take that for what it's worth with how he ended up being because of how pampered the idea of no consequences. His mother used to bribe the other kids to not invite him to the skating rink. She'd lost her husband, so death was a profound lesson in the other direction. My parents, and again, I think it was because my mother grew up on a chicken farm. And, I mean, it's East Texas, but it looked Dust Bowl as far as like the way people dressed. And you look at those old photographs and the way people dealt with life. And their parents are coming out of the Depression when they were young. Mm-hmm. There is no good old days for my papa and mama, for Pop and Nana on both sides of the family. They were like, man, we thank God for the chicken farm. So my mother also, as the baby at 7, talking about how tough she was. I remember her brothers used to tell her, you're going to go out and clean out all the chicken poo-poo. And she goes, no, I'm not. That's your job. And they try to bully her into it. And I remember her telling a story, and they all back it up. She was cleaning a skillet out there out back by a stump. And she looked at her brother Jesse and said, say it to me again, I'm going to cleave you with this. I'm going to cleave you right between the eyes. He woke up looking at the sky.
Oh, wow.
Because my mother
said it again.
He did. And she rang his bell with that with that cast iron skillet. But that was just, again, people were of their word. People were much more, again, like, you can't take things for granted and then lose a child. Come on. So again, I got to
exist in this world then.
Like I touched on, I don't like it. I'm not a fan. I use it. I use social media. I'm usually reactionary from friends reaching out to me, but I'm not reactionary to culture. I don't watch the news. I don't get involved in, and it's not a rabbit hole I want to go down, but my stance is this. Do you remember when we were in school, there was always you and someone you may be at odds with because of that little punk kid whose favorite thing to do all day was to run to you and go, Jimmy said, and runs to Jimmy and said, Brad said, because he just wanted to watch you two fight. Mm-hmm. You and Jimmy would go after school and fight, and it never crossed your mind to look at that little punk and whip his backside. Do you know who that little punk is today? I'll just tell you, it's the mass media.
Oh, because
period.
Of the bullying and all
End
that
of
stuff.
sentence.
Yeah.
No, it's not because of the bullying. Follow this. The mass media needs you two at odds for its entertainment value. He's his own customer then. Their customers now need you to never forget what you need to be against. And for Jimmy to never forget to be against you and for you to be against Jimmy. But it never crosses any of our minds to set all these devices down and stop feeding it so that we realize that the one person, it's not even a person, it's an entity.
It's a crazy maker.
Is this crazy maker that keeps reminding people. I was at the gym during COVID and I was walking through right before it all went crazy. And two televisions were side by side because they run all the TVs down. One ran CNN, one ran Fox. This is when it all started, the whole idea of they're going to be one's blue and one's red. And it said on one of them during the tumultuous time of George Floyd and the fallout from that, CNN wanted to remind black people, don't forget to hate white people. The Fox TV was sitting right next to it, reminding white people, don't forget to hate black people. And I looked at it and it goes, that's that little punk kid. And I'm Jimmy and that's Brad. And neither of us are going to realize that it's got to stop. But I don't know the answer to that because, again, the First Amendment has its very precious use. But if we don't figure out a way to get the poo-poo stirring stick out of their hands, I don't know where we go. And I say that to say this. I'm not nearly as enamored anymore with storytelling because people, it feels lost. For two reasons. One, they can't hold an attention span more than a minute now because the scrolling of the phones is retraining our brains, in my opinion.
What are you going to do
It's
about
happening
that?
to me.
Because, there's not even a movie theater in this town right now. But
Isn't
it's
that wild?
not the town's fault because the movies they were showing weren't very good. I mean, we really would try to go to the movies and we'd go there and go, nope, 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 nope.
It's tough. I mean, I think we're the time that we live in. And again, there's something to be said about, I'm 54 this year in March. And am I out of touch? I'd like to think I'm not. I always felt like through every decade, I was still in touch with and adopted their music, their movies and all the things, even though it wasn't my guys, because I still am to this day. There's movies out that I'd like to see that I don't yet know are not going to be.
I was like, what
right?
movie?
Oh, I mean, I think they're out there. There's movies I'm interested in. But my point is that I said it's two things. And one is the attention span is a problem. But I think that, and this may just be unavoidable, Brad. I think there's a certain amount of, there's only so many things you can do within the framework of actual human experience. I made a list one day of during the 70s, 80s, 90s, we covered the vampires. We covered the action star revenge thrillers. We covered the Jasons and Freddys and Michaels. We've covered everything and it's retreads now. And people have said to me, younger people, calm down. And I'm like, but you guys aren't making things because I feel like there's only so much canvas you can paint. Pick this wall. If you and I started to paint each brick, we will run out of bricks. It's the human experience. We've run out of bricks. So now we just do, and we've done this before where even during that era, you had different shapes and sizes and colors of bricks, but they were still bricks. But I think we've gone so far beyond originality of any kind that you really have to see and look deeper than you and I ever had to before to find something. I thought Sinners was great. I don't think it needs 400 nominations because it's a retread vampire movie, but it's got some really interesting cultural things to say in it if you've seen the film.
You know what I used to tell the kids is that, yeah, there are no new stories, but whatever your story is, your version of that story is different because you're a different age and your DNA is different and all that good stuff.
And these are generalizations. None of this is absolute for me. I think that I'm still surprised. There's surprises every year, but there's far less now. Because again, there was a time when you could look on the board and see the extraterrestrial and Back to the Future. Like it's been done. Before Back to the Future, it had not been done. So the nice alien hadn't been done, at least not at a level that was so accessible to all of. You can't do Jaws twice, but you can do it, right? But you see my point. You can't do the concept, and it was an accidental concept because Bruce wasn't going to work, the mechanical shark, so he had to not show it, and that becomes what it is.
Yeah.
But I wish and I envy people. I've met people. I've dated a few women who, as much as they would have wanted to, they were busy. They hadn't seen blank. And I was like, oh, can imagine what it must be like to have not had that at all in your head. Yeah. So you get to go sit down, and I envy you. I want to watch it next to you and just watch you instead of the movie because I know what happens.
Yeah.
To get to pick your movies. But all those movies are going to be movies for the most part. But can you imagine someone sitting down and having never seen Platoon, Forrest Gump, The Matrix? I mean, but let's go back. I mean, we can go back to the James Bond films. Go back to say, have you ever seen Thunderball? They haven't. Or you ever seen, and go cheesy with Moonraker, whatever. Pick your movie. I mean, you go back. Imagine someone never having seen Jaws. Remove the modern sensibility of, it's old. I'm saying like the concept, Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's been done. And I love that. I always say I'd rather be a has-been than a wannabe, as far as that goes. Now,
So
what do we do now?
Yeah, is AI going to just put everybody out of work? What's happening?
I knew you were going to come with that AI.
Everybody talks about it.
So here's something interesting.
The new industrial age.
To me. I've been working in LA more than I ever have.
Hold on. When people say LA out here, because I did it a lot, they go, Louisiana? Okay.
Los Angeles.
Oh.
So by virtue of my biggest client that I have currently, I've been out there for an inordinate amount of time that I never had before. It is the only thing I can compare it to, but it would sound the opposite of, would be McCarthyism with what could be coming as far as, are you a commie sympathizer? Are you an AI sympathizer? If I find a project of yours that's got any AI touching it, you just stole some of my friends' jobs and you'll never work in this town again. That's what I'm hearing and seeing.
Yeah, there is this movement toward all human movies.
Not just the movies. This is happening. So I touch both because I've been working in music videos, is with the music industry. And it is like, I did something above board and did it on purpose, which was I took over, I want to say maybe call it 35. I took 35 professional photographs of my client. She's a pop artist. There's no reason. Her name is Shab, and she is of Persian descent, and she's right on the cusp of greatness, and has her latest hit that I directed the music video for has broken into the top 20 on Billboard.
Ooh, cool.
On the dance charts, so that I can qualify that statement. And I want to say, but it continues to move. Everything's moving. It's and the song, the straight up release, not the mix version. The straight up, what they call the VIP release, that's the one for iHeartRadio and everyone else that's involved in radio on the side. It's just straightforward, you and I radio that we listen to. Dance radio is kind of a niche, but with radio, it's in the top 40. There's only, that's 40 songs. That's doing pretty well. Yeah. And I think it's at 32 right now. What I'm getting at is I took those photographs and I fed them into one of the apps that generated photographs that we could use for editorial. I just spit it out to the team and said, check this out. Tell me which ones are her. Which ones did we take and which ones did we not? And I didn't get a response from anyone on the team of, man, that's impressive. I cannot tell. They said, you created that with AI. Throw it away now. And I went, wow. So you think that all photos go right out the door and never see the light of Photoshop? And I was like, guys, it's a tool. And they're like, but it's taking jobs. And I said, I can't disagree, but things have been taking jobs since jobs.
Isn't this kind of a transition?
Yeah.
There probably was somebody in a buggy with a horse going, I don't want to see no cars here.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing. It's just a transition.
And what happens every time with human nature, we overreact. I don't, and this could get me vilified by the whole community. I don't consider it the enemy, but I consider it where I'll use it personally. And I don't go deep. I've got friends that do. I can't stand the stuff that I'm seeing on the reels and the pages of what comes across my eyes, with devices. It's always the phone usually, because I have to work in that space now. When I do, I'm head of content for Shab and her music label. So I'm doing all of her social work. I'm doing her social media work, and I'm doing all of her most recent work in content. Just anything that she touches, I'm filming it when we're putting it out there for dissemination. So I found it odd that I cannot even touch it for work, because Instagram is leading the charge on tagging it, which is fine.
Oh, that it's done by AI.
It'd be as
or
if
something?
someone said that the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, every photograph in there has been airbrushed and contoured and everything else. They do it. Doesn't matter. Take sexism right out of the conversation and anything else anybody could, because these days apparently anything we say has to have some ism applied to it. Genderism, sexism, whatever. I just had the audacity to say that as an example. As another example, take any photo that goes into any magazine. It gets touched up no matter what. There's no such thing as a raw photograph. Did anyone would put it. So when I asked the question, I'm like, guys, those are 35 pictures of her. That is her face. They just added everything around it and blended it. And they're like, doesn't matter. If they see, they being the world at large, I guess, that AI touched that, had a hand in it, and that'll show on Instagram, we will be vilified and we will lose followers.
So you just have to go back use Photoshop or something?
What's so crazy, I said, so you guys are telling me that instead of doing what it just did algorithmically in 12 seconds, and it's getting even faster, to do all those, it did 300 photos of her in the desert, out in horseback, all these other things that we can't shoot. And they're like, no, you're taking jobs. I'm like, we wouldn't have hired those people anyway. But what I'm getting at is that's authentically her. All I did was just use some other tool. But you want me to go back to Photoshop and do this one, you want me to do it one pixel at a time, and it's not going to look near as good. So now that's not speaking at all to the bigger picture of what's art. I actually have listened to and enjoyed and considered putting it on a playlist at my house of the blues versions of 90s grunge music.
Yeah, I've heard those.
I've heard them do Sinatra's style with Vanilla Ice on the 90s retro stuff. I've listened to Bush, one of my favorite bands of the 90s. Saw those guys in concert a few times. A guy did Come Down and Glycerine, and did it in the style of the Motown era. And I was like, that's a hit. But it wasn't made by anyone. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about commerce, or are we talking about creativity?
Well, have you seen The Matrix?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Are we in The Matrix?
Man, and I think commerce is the driver behind most anything, obviously, because, I mean.
So what are we going to do? You made Los Angeles mad at you.
Oh yeah, they didn't like me because I'm too country for their. Because I ask hard questions. They're like, well, we do it this way, and I go, well, why? It's easier if no, you get out of here. You're one of the guys out there that I just adore, said to me, because he's also a disruptor. He goes, you can't come out here and disrupt.
Is he that little kid in the middle kind of thing?
No. He's a good one. Okay. He's we disrupt for good, for the good of things. I think
you're the sand in the oyster.
Yeah, absolutely. No, the little guy in the middle that gets you mad at your buddy, that makes you fight after school is still, to me, the media. I think, just to put that to bed for a moment, or maybe for now, for sure, for this podcast, it would be really interesting to me if that hadn't happened, with the 24-hour news cycle in your face and a device that you don't get away from, can't get away from, and don't want to get. The other day, it did an auto update and pushed the update to my phone, and my phone died. I didn't know why. I thought my phone just died. I had the funniest feeling, and I felt the anxiety bubbling up, and I got mad about it because it had worked on me. That this device has become an umbilical for me, that I use it to such a degree that taking it away was like taking water away in the desert. Mm-hmm. And I was mad. I was with a friend, and I go, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling panicky that thing's not working. And I don't have an addictive personality. So what does that say? But what I'm getting at is everything's moving into, I'd have lost this bet when we were young, that watching something on its grand, in my home, in every home I've had, I have a movie screen. Mine now is as big as this brick wall. I demand it. Because I used to, I don't think I've ever confessed this. We used to steal the projectors out of the film room and play Halo at our apartment, but I would bring it back because I ran the rental room. So I'd take that projector home, and I fell in love with the idea. I can't watch things small. I will not do it. So everything's shrinking down to a postage stamp size for us to watch. Is nutty. It's crazy to me that's where we've headed. And now, vertical. And I'm just like, if God intended us to watch things vertically, our eyes would be like this instead of this. That's crazy. Because people are like, well, what about vertical cinema? They're actually having the conversation of, can they do vertical cinema in a movie theater? I'm like, you guys are bonkers. Why? I'll lay on my side and watch it. How about that? Because they're like, but the most interesting things, I'm like, what are you? A John Ford, he would kill you for this. He'd come back from the dead and kill all of you for not being able to shoot those 70 millimeter vistas. It's crazy. Let's watch. They'll do it. I promise you they'll do it. They'll have Lawrence of Arabia in vertical. In 5 years' time, you'll be able to get it.
There'll be a sandbox, not a desert.
I promise you. And the cameras will just be that weird keyframe that they move them into the center of the frame. I'm like, the world is widescreen, and we've done this. How stupid is humanity? There's your answer.
What? Okay, but you just take 1 or 2 generations of only seeing your vertical movie, and they'll be like, yeah, it's normal.
That's what I'm afraid of. But again, they're like, oh, you're just an old head. That's why you're just cranky and crabby. I'm like, I'm really not. It's like I said, if your eyes were stacked, it would be fine. But why would you want to watch? The world doesn't operate this way. Why would you want to see movies on tiny screens in vertical? But I deal in it. I actually traffic in it. I have to the money I make is predominantly now serviced by me creating vertical content. It's nutty to me, which everything's to me. My mother said opinions are like backsides. Everybody's got one. But that's my opinion. My opinion is it's nutty. But, ask a kid and they're fine with it.
You can be upset about it, but is it just going to take over anyway? I mean, are we all going to just lose?
The genie's out, Brad.
I'm old, so it doesn't matter. But for younger people, does it matter?
Well, we'll always have... What's the phrase? Casablanca? We'll always have Paris is a good one. Well, my point is that we'll always have our films. We'll always be able to get what we want to see. We hope, but circle back to AI just for a moment. If all of this becomes automated in a way that we just can't, but that would be like saying that Photoshop just ran rampant but we were just trying to touch up, and all of a sudden Photoshop started painting paintings. That's what we've gotten to. If you want to call it that, you could say from a physical art standpoint, 2D on a wall, we've taken, and Photoshop is morphed into the ability to paint paintings, to write songs, to do all these things. It's out of the genie's out of the bottle. There ain't toothpaste out of the tube. Use, pick a analogy. So it ain't going back in. And I'm actually surprised, and I'd still like to think I'm pretty objective outside of my own generation, where I can look at and understand and listen to younger people tell me, this is how it is. We're going to do it vertically. We're going to do it fast. I don't need to hear the answer to my question unless it's 3 words. And then I'm going to just zone off. And that's the new humanity. Okay, great. But if that's where we're headed to, but a horse and buggy to the car. The TV came along and they said it's going to destroy the fabric of society. Well, that's a moving target, I think, as far as what it did or didn't do. But I saw something someone said the other day was that it still required our presence in a way that now you have, and I see this often, the one in your hand while that's on over there, and you've divided your time, and they're calling it psychological term for it. They're naming these things now as behavioral issues.
Yeah, every kid that I taught, they watch movies. They really do watch a lot of television or movies or whatever.
Sure.
They also have their iPad and their phone, and there's 3 different things going on. And I don't. Yeah. You can focus on one thing at a time.
The brain.
You do not. You think
Agreed.
You can, do that.
Agreed.
I was bring it back to local kind of things. There's a lot going on here, or all across the nation, with AI data centers. And they're giant, like 1,000-acre kind of things.
Sure.
And people are rightfully worried about them. But I was thinking the other day, you remember how cell phones, maybe in the 90s or so, were big bag phones, and they were big giant things?
Yeah, Dad got one. The Gulf Oil gave them to the guys in the
and then
big keypads.
As they got better and better at it, they got these big giant things became tiny. Didn't need all
miniaturization.
Miniaturization
is unavoidable.
Okay, so all of these big AI data centers that they're building right now, is it possible that in 2 years or 3 years, you're going to have 1,000-acre plant that actually only operates within 40 square feet?
Of course.
And all of that
it's a heat sink problem. Do you remember the Cray supercomputer at A&M?
Yeah.
4 rooms this size, I think.
Yeah.
And it could do some cute little, I think it was, I don't remember what the RAM was.
They had it at SFA, not that. But when
Sure.
I went to school here, they had punch cards that went into a giant computer that
Sure.
filled up a whole building.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm thinking, like, we're busy building these giant centers, and the people that run all this are like, I really feel bad about these people, because pretty soon we're only going to need 1 acre, not 1,000 acres.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
I'm
sorry. Forgive me. I digress because, again, I own a phone, and it's working on me too. I was talking about the AI prevalence, and I wanted to comment about the speed of which it's now become manifest. So I'm talking months, and I base this on what I see, and I see a lot because of the work, and also because, again, I do goof on my phone, and I stay up with culture. And I saw conversations about AI like 1 in 100 comments about something, or postings, whatever. Pick your social media site. Now it's everything. If you watched the game yesterday, the AI commercials and the AI that's coming,
the de-aging,
it's
and all
moving so fast that, again, we don't even know what to frame it as or call it or what it's gonna do. It's just doing it. Make it real, then make it good, I guess. I don't know. I mean, we talked about the horse and buggy in the car. They were like, we're gonna need to figure out a way to get these things when they pass each other to stop. They didn't invent roads and traffic signs and then cars. They invented the cars first and killed a lot of people. And then problems are solved in any, pick a field. In medicine, I think about this with how many people died before they got the Whipple procedure. How many people were gone trying something? And then they're like, well, that didn't work. So it's like, is that an unfair comparison? It's not nearly as violent with AI, but no one even, that's the interesting thing to me. Not only does no one know what it's going to do, they don't know what it's going to harm or help. I'm sure we could invite 100 experts on here to make me look really stupid for what I just said. As far as they don't know what it can help. I'm saying they don't ultimately know how much it could help. We know what we can do now. We know how it can shortcut diagnosis with medicine, with ways and surgical procedures, and then how it can fly. So many things it can do. But the idea of that first car, what can it do? And we're here now where it's about to be able to drive itself. Which, by the way, this will take it all the way back to the beginning. The volunteer fire department just did a call on a Tesla that took off. I'm sure it's happened. But this one, it just decided and hit the gas.
Oh, it just ran away?
Yes.
Well, it had an unhappy home.
Well, he was in it. The guy survived.
Oh, well.
But that was the call. Was, again, we see the craziest stuff out there because of that being that major four-way. It's the major artery to Houston. So when those guys get calls on accidents, they're usually not pretty because everybody's going 90.
Yeah.
And you got all the 18-wheelers and everything else involved. But he goes, check this out. And I go, man, that's right out of the Netflix film from a few years back where all the Teslas ran, where they just were going to a point in space on the GPS map. So they all went at the same time. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting that it did that because they talk about them catching fire and other things like that. And I'm not getting into, again, anything supernatural with what's capable of, but I'm saying this. We're talking about something, to me, that's never been seen before, that's different. A gun can't shoot. A car can't drive. All of the things that could potentially harm us usually require us. This ain't that. And to me, that's interesting. But it's been done. I mean, would you like to play a game? Remember War Games? Age of Ultron, the Avengers? Ultron decided we weren't worth keeping. Well, he made that decision on his own. So artificial intelligence, we're becoming, and it's been said, we're becoming godlike if we're imbuing free will into things that can function. So we're going to find out.
So how do we wrap this up and not leave everybody all depressed about it? And
I don't know. I mean, like anything, I think we love to watch films, The Matrix being one of them. That's pretty depressing.
It's slow to me these days when I watch it. Sorry.
Yeah. It's still one of my favorites, man.
So tell me, just in a nutshell.
Okay.
Where are you? Who are you? Where do you think you're going in life? I mean, you're 54?
I'll be 54 March 18th.
Okay. So
shop now.
What happens now?
I ask myself this every morning.
Do you ever get to fly on private planes?
So my client owns the plane. And that's interesting because he flies it. I never know until often the day of. There's rumors of we may have to run over to Nashville for this. It's Thursday. They make the decision, and we got to be there. We got to be there tomorrow. So Friday morning we get up, and I go out to the tarmac. It's gonna sound, I don't know. I could be carrying RPGs or a pack of cards. It wouldn't matter. I'm getting on this plane without going through any security, without doing anything, and you get spoiled. So again,
What kind of plane is it?
it's a Pilatus 24, I think, which is it has the best safety record of the plane in its category. It's pressurized. We can put 10 in it, and off we go. So we could be sitting here right now and be in LA in 3 hours. Which again, nothing. People who do this are like, calm down. Ain't that big a deal. But to me, it's just interesting.
Well, when your parents, when you had to go back to your childhood bedroom, in failure or whatever, do you think? What do you think your parents would think right now with you flying around on $18 million jets? Or
that's pretty close. I priced that one. That's pretty good in the operating costs. I don't know, man. They had been thrilled. Daddy was always so proud. Lost my mother. It's been 14 years this year. And Dad was just January a year ago. And so Daddy made 86. Mama made 67. So Dad was always, I say that just to say, to the day he died, he was still telling stories about the stuff I was up to. So I would say proud. Oh, very proud. But my mother would have been thrilled.
Let me, just so people, I can round your personality out a little bit here, which is that I've never seen anybody take better care of their dying father than you did. And you did it for how long?
Years.
Like 5 years, 2 years, 1 year?
Oh, well, the first time the conversation was even had, and I'm the one who said to my father, I will not tell you, you will tell me when this house is too big for you to move around in, when you want to get something smaller, when you need some help. But what ended up happening was, because like you will be and I will be as well, we're going to be stubborn and not tell people to help us. He started falling down, and that's been going back probably 7-8 years when he fell the first time. And now that was just because he had a little hiccup in health. He had a wild UTI problem because his bladder wasn't working because he's diabetic, and he lost the ability to squeeze. So no more peeing at will. So it's a problem. But for him, the problem was that he didn't tell anybody. And this dude looked like he had just been rescued from Auschwitz by the time we all ruled out cancer and everything else that was involved. So go back that far, and he had a setback. But he was still, other than that, the dude was in great health. But it caused all kinds of problems that made him look like he was ready for, out here in the country, you know, we call it the home, ready for the home. The nursing home. They call it assisted living now. But it wasn't true. But because he had that happen to him, and you go back that far, and it's late 70s. And Dad was always just, I don't know how, the dude smoked like 2 packs a day. It was crazy to me. My dad would smoke. I never smoked a cigarette in my life. I think I dragged on one time. But both of my parents were smokers. So these health issues, in my humble opinion, I'm no doctor, were directly related to, and all the things they dealt with over their years. Dad had kidney stones, and he had emphysema and COPD, but dude would just roll right on through. He had COPD with really no symptoms. He never had an oxygen bottle or anything like that. He never really was short of breath. He was just tough. But he was almost like a daisical tough. Like it was just like he was just sitting there rolling through life. But then he had the fall. And that was the one where I was like, all right, look, man, so we put cameras. When I put cameras, you want to talk about a reality show.
Oh my gosh!
And he put
cameras in his house.
Had to, but he signed off on this. He knew, Daddy knew. But we put him like in the living room because that's where he lived. He'd stayed there ever since Mama died. He never slept in the bed. Their marriage bed was never slept in again when she died. But there it sat, made, never unmade, for years and years and years. I just dusted, and so he lived in this recliner watching his favorite shows and football and all the stuff that he was into. Westerns were his jam. He kept it on the Western Channel, just looping them. He'd seen them all hundreds of times. But I'd come visit, and I could just see there was things going on. I was like, man, we got to have a conversation about this. So that's when I said, Daddy, I'm never going to be the son that's like, well, let's go looking for places. I mean, I'll let you die right here, man. You earned it. This is your home. But he finally said, I can't keep, this is too much. So the bridge was the cameras. But on camera, and I laughed because during the time it wasn't funny. He would start, those UTIs would get so hot before we could get the antibiotics on them that he would hallucinate. And I have videos of him talking to people. bouncing little kids around. And I would come home and he'd go, "It's not real, is it?" And I go, "No." He goes, "There's a black cat."
So you'd show him the video?
Yes. Oh, he loved it. He was like, "I don't know what to tell you. That dog was sitting right there." And I go, "Man, that's crazy." So he could have some real wild reactions too. So, folks, if you're getting into your golden years and you start to see things that you might not necessarily see, please go see a doctor. Again, no medical advice from me. Anyway, this dude, at that point, because he thought he was a stunt man, while having broken one hip, he decided to get out of he was doing rehab at a facility and decided he was going to get up and backflipped into a second one. So he broke both. The surgeon goes, "You guys wanted a twofer." I go, "Do you have a coupon for that?" Because it wasn't, I'm talking weeks. He busts, shatters the one side. They put that all back together, get him going, and he's convalescing from that, and he busts the other one. Well, when he busted the other one, that put him in a wheelchair. So wheelchair bound that's what changed his life. That's what had me come back home. Because I was out, again, at that time, I was booming. This is when you go back that far, you and I were still doing a few commercials. So that goes back to, 2019, 2020. It's around right before COVID era when it all got shut down and we all stopped working. But yeah, so I took care of him and I took care of him, I was overseeing everybody who touched his orbit, with his care, because we can do a whole podcast on the medical, state of affairs these days. It's crazy.
So you lost your sister and that affected you and you thought about death. You were saying, well, all the time.
Yeah.
But then you had to deal physically with him dying and stuff. Did that echo back into all that?
It didn't just echo, Brad. It changed me, and it took probably a good, I think I'm out of it now. I feel out of it. But there was, even before he passed, for about a good year, I was spending all of my time with the elderly, the infirm, and the dying. So it got into my
soul.
Yeah, it really got in, and I didn't realize how much it had affected my thinking. And I had sort of semi-retired to help him. I'd done well enough, and there were some things in place that I didn't really have to work. And so I spent, again, an inordinate amount of time with my dad. And I just was already sort of habitually not being creative, not being active, not working. And so when he passed, that's when it really hit me. I was like, I don't care. People would say, about what? I was like, nothing. Because I was looking at and dealing with people who, and this is just unavoidable. If you're looking at the end, there's not, and that's a wonderful Beulah land thing for people that believe that. Good. I'm in. But I'm saying that whole community isn't about what we're going to do with our lives. So here I am at 54 acting like I'm 84. And that was tough. And so you want to talk about a reversal that was insane, was getting this new posting with Shab and her music label. And she also has a line of clothing. So there's an entire other side to her business. So I do content for both sides. So I'm filming all the time. I went from basically hanging out at the, death's door.
Okay.
Hanging out at death's door to hitting the ground, and I'm not kidding you, exactly felt like it did when I first got out of SFA and was like, I'll take any job. I'll do anything, not knowing, careful what you wish for. And then I'm doing just to the wall, on fire, just running around like crazy. And it's a great problem to have financially. But man, I mean, that was something. Muscles I hadn't used, I mean, cerebrally as well as physically. The back, I mean, man, it was crazy. But it's been amazing to come back to it. But yeah, it did. It absolutely affected me. Because I would be there with Dad and come visit. I'd go to the gym and then go see Dad, and that was a routine, Monday through Friday. Weekends too, depending. I might be out on town doing something. But anytime I'm coming back home, I'm passing by Briarcliff in Carthage, which was an amazing facility. I think they do as best as anyone can do, faced with the strictures that are put in place with the state and everything else to deal with the elderly. They loved my daddy. Because it's a community of people from that town working with the people they grew up with. Like, they are helping and giving care and aid and love. So it's not like they just put them in a room and throw some food in there and hose them off. And that's what I believe the nursing home was when I was a kid. I remember my mother taking me, and it was like a horror show to go visit some of the elders in my community at some of the places that they were being, for lack of a better term, housed, where they were living. But I can't speak to any other place because Briarcliff is what I chose. And man, they were amazing. But what I was going to say is I would come in and there'd be people missing that I had gotten close with. And I was like, hey, where's Mr. So-and-so? I was like, oh, y'all seen Tom? Oh, and I was like, and Daddy, I'll leave you with this from my dad. This is how he was. We were sitting there one day and he looks at me, and he was a man of few words, but when he spoke, it was either hilarious or profound. And he goes, look around. Everybody in here, these people are just working their tails off to keep them alive. And I just want to die, but God won't kill me. And I thought that was one of the funniest, because it struck me. I hadn't thought of it that way. I was like, there's nurses, they're like code blue, and they're running. And Dad's just watching them go. And he goes, if they ever do that, you better let me die, was his point. Was like, I want to go. But he just was like, I'm just sitting here rolling the dice. I just keep coming 7-Eleven, 7-Eleven, 7-Eleven. I can't crap out and save my life. Ha ha, no pun intended.
It's hard to die.
Right?
Thank you, George. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We went some interesting places. Made in Nacogdoches, not all of your life is made there, but the essence of the quality of the things you talk about, small towns, all the way to flying all over the world. This is what, to me at least, the facets of East Texas and Nacogdoches. There's every kind of person here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Your heart and
if there's 1 minute left, I can do this fast because we didn't talk about it. Made in Nacogdoches, absolutely my career, the way that I look at creativity and the way I feel about this place. I have an absolute undying love affair with this town. I bring people here anytime that they come visit me out at Farmhouse, out in my little part of the world. But I think of all the incredible memories of all the years, because we didn't talk about this. I went to school here and then I came back. I circled back and hung my shingle out here for almost a decade and made my little fiefdom, my little kingdom of TV commercials. There was a time when I could sit at a doctor's office or go visit someone at one of the other shops that I may have worked for and look at the TVs up and say one of the car dealerships. Every commercial was mine at one time, where I could watch them and go, I did that one, that one, that one. I can drive through this town with you right now and tell you and show you the logos I've done, all the businesses I've done commercials for, all the people I've worked with, all the people I've hung out with, all the people I've broke bread with, all the people whose homes I've visited. And this is, we didn't get to talk about it.
Well,
but
you'll come back.
I hope I could jam that in there to tell you how much I love this town.
Good. Well, I think you even made
It's adopted home. This
video.
is adopted home to me. Yes.
You made a promotional video for that.
I would say it was an emotional promotional video. I won an award for that thing.
Oh,
and I got the Arscott Award for Best Documentary with that. That was great. I call it the Blue Truck documentary, which was we jumped in and we drove that old blue truck everywhere we could. from Millage Crossing, Lone Star Feed, all the way down until we ran out of Nacogdoches on the other end of town.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
It's made in Nacogdoches. We'll see you. Like and subscribe, please.
There ain't nothing wrong with me that you can't fix. There ain't nothing wrong with me, a little TLC can't lick. I got last year's body, a couple of dents, but there ain't nothing wrong with me that you can't fix.